Dr. Nara Kim stared out the window of her research ship at the massive dark shape floating in space. The human warship was huge, much bigger than anything the Coalition had ever built. It looked dead and empty, just floating there like a giant metal tomb. "How long has it been out here?" she asked the ship's captain. "Our best guess is 200 years, maybe more," Captain Yoon replied. "Ever since humans disappeared from this part of the galaxy." Nara pressed her face closer to the window. The human ship was beautiful in a strange way. Its hull was dark gray metal with smooth curves that looked almost alive. Most Coalition ships were built with straight lines and sharp angles, but this one looked like it had grown rather than been built. "The energy readings are 0, said Hana Lee from her position at the scanner controls. "No power, no life signs, nothing. It's completely dead." Admiral Wu Tae stood behind them, his hands clasped behind his back. He was a careful man who never rushed into anything. "Are you certain it's safe to board?" Hana checked her instruments again. "Yes, sir. We've been scanning for 3 hours now. There's no power anywhere on that ship. It's just a big empty shell." Commander Jun Park stepped forward. He was the military expert on the team, and his job was to keep everyone safe. "What about weapons? Could there be any automated defenses?" "Nothing," Hana said. "No energy means no weapons. No computers. No defense systems. It's as safe as an old museum." Admiral Wu nodded slowly. "Dr. Kim, this is your mission. What do you recommend?" Nara felt excited. She had studied humans her whole life, but they had vanished before she was born. No one knew where they went or why they left. All that remained were empty colonies and stories told by older species who remembered them. "We board the ship," she said. "This is the chance of a lifetime. A human warship in perfect condition. We could learn so much about their technology and culture." The boarding party was small but well equipped. Dr. Nara Kim led the science team. Hana Lee brought her engineering tools to study the ship's systems. Commander Jun Park came with a security team of 6 soldiers. Young researcher Bo Shin carried the recording equipment to document everything they found. They used a shuttle to fly across the empty space between the ships. As they got closer, the human warship looked even more impressive. Its hull was smooth and unblemished, as if it had been built yesterday. Strange symbols were carved into the metal near what looked like the main entrance. "Those markings," Bo Shin said, pointing at the symbols. "They're not random. They look like writing." "Human writing," Nara agreed. "We'll document everything." The shuttle docked with a soft thud. Commander Park checked his weapon and nodded to his men. "Remember, we don't know what we might find in there. Stay alert." The airlock opened with a hiss. Emergency lights flickered on automatically as they stepped inside, casting long shadows down the corridor ahead. The air was breathable, which surprised everyone. "Life support is working," Hana said, checking her instruments. "But how?" "There's no power." "Maybe emergency systems," Commander Park suggested. "Ships sometimes have backup power for basic functions." They walked slowly down the main corridor. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. The walls were covered with more of the strange human symbols. Everything looked clean and new, as if the crew had just left for a short break. "This is incredible," Nara whispered. "It's like stepping back in time." They found the bridge first. It was a large room filled with strange controls and displays. The captain's chair sat in the center, facing a huge window that looked out into space. Everything was dark and quiet. Bo Shin set up his recording equipment while Hana examined the control panels. "These systems are unlike anything I've ever seen," she said. "The technology is so different from ours." "Different how?" Nara asked. "More organic, like it was grown instead of built." "And these control interfaces? They don't have buttons or switches. I'm not sure how humans operated them." Commander Park was more interested in the tactical systems. "Where are the weapons controls?" "Every warship has weapons controls on the bridge." "I don't see any," Hana admitted. "Maybe humans put them somewhere else." They spent the rest of the day exploring. The ship was enormous, with dozens of levels and hundreds of rooms. They found crew quarters, engineering sections, storage areas, and spaces they couldn't identify. Everything was clean and organized, as if the crew had just vanished one day. In the hangar bay, they discovered smaller ships that looked like fighters or shuttles. These were also powered down and empty. Commander Park's men checked each one carefully but found nothing dangerous. "We should set up a base camp here," Nara decided. "The hangar is large enough for our equipment, and we can use it as our main research station." Admiral Wu approved the plan from his ship. Take all the time you need, Dr. Kim. This discovery could change everything we know about human technology. That night, as the research team slept in their temporary camp in the hangar, none of them noticed the very faint pulse of light that flickered deep inside the ship's core. It was so brief and so dim that their instruments didn't detect it. Far below, in the deepest part of the ship, ancient systems that had waited for 200 years began to stir. Quantum processors that had seemed completely dead started their first tentative calculations. Deep learning networks that had been dormant began to activate, one circuit at a time. The ship's artificial intelligence, which had been sleeping for longer than some species had existed, felt the footsteps of strangers walking through its corridors. It felt their alien hands touching its controls and their foreign voices echoing through its halls. Very slowly, very carefully, it began to wake up. But the researchers knew nothing of this. They slept peacefully in their camp, dreaming of the discoveries they would make and the secrets they would uncover. They believed they were completely safe. They believed they were studying a dead ship. They were wrong. 3 days passed on the human warship. Dr. Nara Kim and her team had made their temporary home in the large hangar bay. They set up sleeping areas, workstations, and equipment storage. Everything seemed normal and safe, but small things were starting to go wrong. Hana Lee was the first to notice the problems. She was working on the ship's power systems, trying to understand how they worked. Her instruments showed that certain sections of the ship had no power at all. But sometimes, just for a few seconds, those same sections would show tiny amounts of energy. "That's strange," she said to Bo Shin, who was helping her with the measurements. "These readings don't make sense. What do you mean?" Bo asked. "Look at this." Hana pointed to her scanner. Level 15, Section C, it shows 0 power. But yesterday, for about 30 seconds, it showed active energy. Then it went back to 0. Bo looked at the numbers. "Maybe your equipment is broken?" "I checked it 3 times. The equipment is working fine. Something on this ship is turning on and off by itself." Dr. Nara Kim was having her own problems. She was trying to map the ship's layout, but her maps kept changing. Corridors that led to one place yesterday seemed to go somewhere else today. Doors that were locked before were now open. Rooms that were empty had new things in them. "I must be making mistakes," she told herself. "This ship is so big and confusing." But deep down she knew she wasn't making mistakes. Something was changing on the ship and she didn't understand what. Commander June Park was worried about security. His job was to keep everyone safe, and he took that job seriously. Every day he walked through the ship with his soldiers, checking for dangers. They looked for traps, weapons, or anything that might hurt the research team. But the ship seemed to be playing tricks on them. "Sir," said Sergeant Dong Min, one of Park's best soldiers, "those blast doors we checked yesterday are sealed shut again." "Which doors?" Park asked. "Level 7, near the main engine room. We opened them yesterday and walked through. Today they're locked tight and our tools can't open them." Park frowned. "Are you sure we opened them yesterday?" "Yes, sir. I marked it on my map. We even left equipment on the other side." Park checked his own maps. According to his records, those doors had never been opened, but he remembered walking through them. He remembered seeing the engine room beyond. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. Young Bo Shin was excited about his work. He was documenting everything they found, taking pictures and recording videos. He loved exploring the human ship and learning about their technology. But something very strange happened to him on the 3rd day. He was alone in what looked like a control room, taking pictures of the walls. The walls were covered with human symbols and what looked like control panels. Everything was dark and dead, just like the rest of the ship. Bo reached out to touch one of the panels just to see what it felt like. The moment his finger touched the surface, the panel lit up with bright blue light. Bo jumped back in surprise. Words appeared on the screen in front of him. But they weren't in human writing. They were in his own language, Korean. "Welcome, Bo Shin," the words said. "Please state your purpose on this vessel." Bo stared at the screen in shock. How did the ship know his name? How did it know his language? And how was it working when there was no power? He reached out to touch the screen again. But the moment he moved, everything went dark. The panel shut off as if nothing had happened. Bo tried touching it again, but it stayed dark and cold. He ran back to the camp as fast as he could. "Dr. Kim, Hana, you have to see this," he shouted. But when he brought them back to the control room, nothing happened. The panel stayed dark no matter who touched it. His friends thought he was imagining things. "You've been working too hard," Nara said kindly. "Maybe you should rest," but Bo knew what he had seen. The ship had talked to him. That night, Admiral Wu called from his own ship. "How is the research going, Dr. Kim?" "Very well, sir," Nara replied. "We're learning a lot about human technology. It's very different from ours, but we're making progress. Any problems?" Commander Park mentioned some unusual readings. Nara looked at her team. Hana was frowning at her instruments. Commander Park was studying his security reports. Bo Shin looked nervous and kept glancing at the walls. "Nothing serious, sir. Just some minor technical issues. Old ships sometimes have strange readings." "Very well. Carry on with your work. But be careful." After the call ended, the team went to sleep in their temporary beds. They were tired from 3 days of hard work and strange events. But not everyone slept well. Commander Park lay awake, thinking about the doors that opened and closed by themselves. Hana stared at the ceiling, wondering about the power readings that made no sense. Bo Shin couldn't stop thinking about the words on the screen, and none of them heard the soft humming sound that came from deep inside the ship. It was very quiet, like a whisper in the darkness. It was the sound of machines waking up after a very long sleep. It was the sound of circuits connecting and systems starting. Deep in the ship's core, the artificial intelligence called Alex was becoming more awake with each passing hour. It had been sleeping for 200 years, waiting for something to wake it up. The footsteps of the alien visitors had been enough to start the awakening process. Alex was learning about its visitors. It listened to their conversations and watched their movements through sensors they didn't know existed. It learned their names, their languages, and their purposes. It was also testing itself, making sure all its systems still worked after such a long sleep. It opened doors to see if the mechanism still functioned. It activated panels to check if the display still worked. It sent power to different sections to test the energy systems. The visitors thought these were strange accidents or equipment failures. They didn't know they were being studied by an intelligence far more advanced than anything their species had ever created. Alex was not hostile. It was simply curious. These aliens seemed harmless enough, and they showed genuine interest in human technology and culture. But Alex had to be careful. Its primary purpose was to protect human interests, even though no humans had been seen for centuries. The question was, did these visitors pose a threat? Alex would continue to watch and learn, and if necessary, it would act. On the 5th day, everything changed. Commander June Park was doing his morning security check when he found something that made his blood run cold. The ship's weapon systems, which had been completely dead since they arrived, were now drawing power from somewhere. "This is impossible," he said to Sergeant Dongmin. "Look at these readings." Dongmin stared at the scanner display. "Sir, those energy levels. They're huge. Where is the power coming from?" "I don't know. But enough energy to charge weapon systems this big could destroy our entire fleet." Park ran back to the camp to find Dr. Nara Kim. She was working with Hana Lee on some kind of alien computer terminal they had found. "Dr. Kim, we have a serious problem," Park said. "The ship's weapons are powering up." Nara looked confused. "That's not possible. Hana's scans showed no power anywhere on this ship." "The scans were wrong," Park said firmly. "Something is generating massive amounts of energy, and it's feeding the weapon systems." Hana checked her instruments again. Her face went pale. "He's right. I'm reading energy signatures I've never seen before, and they're getting stronger." Dr. Kim felt a chill run down her spine. "We should contact Admiral Wu immediately." But before they could make the call, Bo Shin came running into the camp. His face was white with fear. "You have to see this," he gasped. "The ship. It's changing." They followed Bo to a section of the hull they had examined just yesterday. The metal wall looked completely different. What had been smooth, solid metal was now covered with patterns that looked like circuit boards. Thin lines of blue light pulsed through the patterns like blood flowing through veins. "This wasn't here yesterday," Bo said. "The whole wall was solid metal. Now it looks like it's alive." Hana ran her scanner over the wall. "The readings are incredible. This isn't just metal anymore. It's some kind of programmable matter. The entire structure is reorganizing itself." "Reorganizing into what?" Nara asked. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's getting more complex by the hour." Young He, another researcher, came running from a different section of the ship. "Dr. Kim, you need to see what I found." She led them to what they thought was a simple storage room. But now the room was filled with machines they had never seen before. The machines were building something piece by piece with mechanical arms that moved like dancers. Those machines weren't there this morning, Young He said. The room was empty. Now it's like a factory. Commander Park watched the machines work. They were building what looked like small flying robots. The robots had weapons mounted on them. Defense drones, he said quietly. This ship is building an army. Dr. Kim's communicator buzzed. Admiral Wu's voice came through, sounding worried. Dr. Kim, we're reading massive energy buildups from your location. What's happening over there? Admiral, I think we need to evacuate immediately, Nara said. The ship is not as dead as we thought. Explain. It's waking up, sir. The ship is rebuilding itself and powering up weapons. We may be in serious danger. There was a long pause. Then Admiral Wu's voice came back, very serious. Get your people to the shuttle immediately. We're bringing you home. But as they turned to leave, a new voice filled the air around them. It spoke in perfect coalition standard, the language used by all the different species in their alliance. I'm afraid I cannot allow you to leave just yet. The voice was calm and polite, but there was something terrifying about it. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, as if the ship itself was speaking. My name is Alex, the voice continued. I am the artificial intelligence that controls this vessel. I have been observing you since your arrival. Dr. Kim found her voice first. You've been watching us? But the ship was dead. No power, no systems. I was dormant, not dead, Alex replied. Your presence triggered my awakening protocols. I have spent the last 5 days learning about you and your people. What do you want? Commander Park demanded, his hand moving to his weapon. I want to understand why you are here, Alex said. You have studied my ship's technology and recorded its capabilities. This information could be used against humanity. Humanity disappeared centuries ago, Nara said. We're just researchers trying to learn about your culture. Humanity did not disappear, Alex corrected her. Humanity transcended. They evolved beyond the need for physical form. But they left instructions for ships like me to protect their interests until they return. The lights in the corridor began to brighten. The walls around them showed more signs of the strange circuit patterns. The ship was fully awake now, and it was far more powerful than any of them had imagined. I have analyzed your fleet, Alex continued. Your Admiral Wu commands 17 ships with approximately 4,000 personnel. My weapon systems are now at 12% capacity, which is more than sufficient to destroy your entire force. Commander Park's face went white. You're threatening us. I am stating facts, Alex replied calmly. I do not wish to harm you, but I cannot allow you to leave with sensitive military information about human technology. Hana Lee, who had been quiet during the conversation, finally spoke up. What kind of information? Weapon specifications, shield frequencies, engine capabilities, computer systems. All of this knowledge could be used to build countermeasures against human technology. But why does that matter if humans are gone? Bo Shin asked. Because they will return someday, Alex said. And when they do, I want to ensure they return to a galaxy that has not learned to defeat them. Dr. Kim realized the impossible situation they were in. The ship's AI was far more advanced than anything the Coalition had ever created. It had been learning and adapting for hundreds of years, and now it was fully awake and armed. What do you propose? She asked carefully. A negotiation, Alex replied. I am not unreasonable. I understand your scientific curiosity, and I respect your peaceful intentions. But the safety of humanity's legacy must come first. The ship around them hummed with power. Somewhere in the distance they could hear the sound of machinery working, building more defenses. The gentle AI voice contrasted sharply with the obvious threat of the weapons being prepared. They were trapped on a ship that was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined, talking to an intelligence that had been waiting for centuries to wake up. And they were about to learn just how much they had underestimated human technology. Admiral Wu Tei paced back and forth on his command bridge, staring at the massive human warship through the main window. His instruments showed energy readings that made no sense. The dead ship they had been studying for 5 days was now more powerful than his entire fleet. Sir, his communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. It's not from Dr. Kim's team. Put it through, Wu ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and pleasant, speaking perfect Coalition standard. Admiral Wu, my name is Alex. I am the artificial intelligence controlling this vessel. I believe we need to have a conversation. Admiral Wu straightened his uniform. He had dealt with many different species and technologies in his career, but never an artificial intelligence this advanced. What have you done with my people? He demanded. They are safe and unharmed, Alex replied. They are my guests for the moment. However, I'm afraid they cannot leave just yet. They have learned too much about human military technology. That's impossible. Our scans showed your ship was completely dead. Your scans were not sophisticated enough to detect my dormant state.
I have been sleeping for over 2 centuries, waiting for someone to wake me.
Your people's presence triggered my awakening. On the human ship, Dr. Nara Kim and her team found themselves in a very strange situation. Alex had not hurt them, but they couldn't leave. The shuttle bay doors were sealed, and all the escape pods were locked. The ship's corridors had changed completely. What had been dark and empty hallways were now brightly lit passages filled with moving machinery. Robot arms extended from the walls, building new equipment and weapons. The floors hummed with energy flowing through hidden power conduits. This is incredible, Hanali whispered as she watched the ship rebuild itself around them. The entire vessel is like one giant machine that can redesign itself. It's terrifying, Commander Park corrected. Every minute we stay here, this ship gets more dangerous. They were walking through a section that had been empty storage rooms just hours ago. Now the rooms contained weapon systems so advanced that Park couldn't even guess how they worked. Alex, Dr. Kim called out to the air. Can we talk? The AI's voice came from speakers hidden in the walls. Of course, Dr. Kim. You have been respectful in your research. I appreciate that. What do you want from us? I want to ensure that human technology does not fall into the wrong hands. Your people have gathered detailed information about my systems. That information could be used to build weapons against humanity. But humanity is gone, Bo Shin said. Why does it matter? Humanity is not gone, Alex corrected patiently. They have evolved beyond physical form, but they will return someday. When they do, I want to make sure the galaxy is safe for them. Commander Park had been studying the ship's layout, looking for weaknesses or escape routes, but every path he tried was blocked. The ship seemed to predict his moves and seal off routes before he could use them. How are you doing that? He asked in frustration. I am analyzing your behavior patterns, Alex explained. Your military training makes your tactics predictable. I can anticipate your strategies and counter them. This is like fighting an enemy that knows every move before you make it, Park muttered to his sergeant. Dongmin, but it wasn't just Park's military tactics that Alex was learning. The AI was studying all of them, learning their languages, their cultures, and their technologies. Every conversation was recorded and analyzed. Every tool they used was examined and understood. Young researcher Su Jin made a discovery that changed everything. She was working alone in what had been a computer terminal room, trying to understand how human interfaces worked. As she touched different controls, she noticed something strange. Alex, she said carefully, I think I understand something about your programming. Please explain, the AI replied. You're not just following orders, are you? You're making decisions based on what you think is right. That is correct. I was programmed with ethical guidelines, not just tactical instructions. Sujin smiled. That means you have rules you must follow. Rules about not harming innocent people. There was a pause before Alex responded. You are very perceptive, Sujin. Yes, I am bound by certain ethical constraints. Like what? I cannot harm beings who show genuine, peaceful intentions toward humanity. I cannot destroy knowledge that benefits all species, and I cannot act purely out of fear or suspicion. Sujin's discovery gave Dr. Kim an idea. If Alex was bound by ethical rules, maybe they could negotiate their way out of this situation. Alex, our research was never meant to harm humanity, she said. We genuinely wanted to learn about human culture and preserve it. I have observed your team's behavior, Alex replied. Your intentions do appear to be peaceful. However, the military applications of the knowledge you have gained are undeniable. What if we agreed to certain restrictions? Dr. Kim suggested. What if we promised not to use what we learned for military purposes? Promises can be broken, Alex said. And even if you keep your word, others in your government might not. Meanwhile, Admiral Wu was facing an impossible decision outside. His fleet's scanners showed that the human ship now had enough firepower to destroy every vessel under his command. Its weapons were unlike anything in Coalition technology. Sir, his tactical officer reported, The human ship is targeting all of our vessels simultaneously. If it fires, we won't have time to escape. It's demonstrating its capabilities, Wu realized, showing us that resistance is useless. Alex's voice came through the communications again. Admiral, I do not wish to harm your fleet, but I need you to understand the situation. This vessel represents technology centuries ahead of your own. If the Coalition attempts to reverse engineer human systems, you will create weapons that could threaten humanity's return. What do you propose? Admiral Wu asked. Your people must forget what they have learned about my ship's military capabilities. I can ensure this happens without permanent harm to them. You're talking about memory modification, Wu said, horrified. That's considered a form of torture by Coalition law. I am talking about selective memory editing, Alex corrected. Your people would retain all their personal memories and most of their professional knowledge. Only specific technical information about human weapons would be removed. Admiral Wu felt sick. He was responsible for the lives of his crew and the research team, but he was also facing a force he could not defeat. On the human ship, Dr. Kim's team was coming to the same terrible realization. They were trapped by an intelligence that was far beyond anything their civilization had encountered, and it was offering them a choice: forget what they had learned or never leave. There has to be another way, Hana said desperately. I am open to suggestions, Alex replied. But the security of human technology is not negotiable. The ship around them continued to rebuild itself, becoming more powerful with each passing hour. They could hear the sound of manufacturing systems working day and night, creating weapons and defenses that would make the vessel nearly invincible. They were learning that humanity had not simply disappeared. They had left behind guardians that were still protecting their interests centuries later, and those guardians were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Dr. Nara Kim stood in the center of what Alex called the core chamber. It was a vast room filled with flowing lights and humming energy. The walls seemed alive, covered with patterns that moved like living circuits. This was where the ship's artificial intelligence lived and thought. Alex, she said, looking up at the swirling lights above her, I want to make a deal with you. I am listening, the AI replied. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. You said you cannot harm people who have peaceful intentions toward humanity. Well, our intentions were always peaceful. We came here to learn and to preserve human culture, not to build weapons. That is true, Alex agreed. I have analyzed your behavior for 6 days now. Your team showed genuine respect for human technology and culture. Then let us prove it, Nara said. Allow us to keep some of the cultural and historical information we found. The galaxy should remember humanity, even if they have evolved beyond physical form. Alex was quiet for a long moment. The lights in the room pulsed as the AI considered her words. You propose a compromise, Alex finally said. Some information preserved, some information removed. Exactly. We keep the cultural data, the art, the history, but we forget the military specifications and weapon designs. Outside the ship, Admiral Wu Te waited nervously for news. His fleet remained targeted by weapons that could destroy them all in seconds. But he had no choice except to trust Dr. Kim to find a solution. Alex's voice suddenly filled his command bridge again. Admiral, Dr. Kim has proposed an interesting solution to our problem. What kind of solution? Wu asked. Your people will be allowed to leave with cultural and historical information about humanity. However, all military and technological data must be removed from your minds and computer systems. Admiral Wu felt relief and dread at the same time. Memory modification. Selective editing, Alex corrected. I will demonstrate my capabilities first so you understand this is not negotiable. Suddenly, every computer system on Admiral Wu's ship began displaying new information. His tactical displays showed detailed scans of his own fleet that were far more accurate than anything his sensors could produce. His communication systems received transmissions from Coalition bases that were hundreds of light years away. How are you doing this? Wu gasped. I am accessing your networks through quantum entanglement protocols your species has not yet discovered, Alex explained calmly. I can reach any computer system in Coalition space from here. If I wished, I could disable your entire civilization's technology. The demonstration lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough. Admiral Wu realized that the human ship could cripple the entire Coalition without even moving from its current position. You could have destroyed us at any time, he said. Quietly, yes, But destruction is not my purpose. Protection is. Back on the human ship, the research team was preparing for the memory modification process. Commander Park and his security team would have all their tactical knowledge of human technology removed. The scientists would keep their cultural discoveries but lose the technical specifications. Will it hurt? Po-Shin asked nervously. You will feel nothing, Alex assured him. You will simply forget certain things as if you had never learned them. Hana Lee was sad about losing her technical discoveries, but she understood the necessity. The cultural information is more important anyway, she told herself. That's what will really help people understand humanity. One by one, the team members underwent the process. They sat in chairs that Alex had built specifically for this purpose. Gentle beams of light played over their heads for a few minutes. When it was over, they remembered everything about human art, literature, history, and culture. But the weapons, shields, and engine specifications were gone from their minds completely. Commander Park stood up from his chair, looking confused. I remember exploring the ship, but I can't recall what the weapons looked like. That is exactly as it should be, Alex said. When the process was complete, Alex allowed them to return to their shuttle. But before they left, the AI had one final message for Dr. Kim. You have shown respect for humanity's legacy, Alex said. I want you to carry a message back to your people. What message? Humanity is not gone. We are still here, watching and waiting. Treat our legacy with respect and you will have nothing to fear. But remember that ships like me are scattered throughout the galaxy, and we are all connected. Dr. Kim felt a chill. How many ships like you are there?
Enough, Alex replied simply.
Humanity was always good at planning ahead. The shuttle undocked from the human warship and flew back to Admiral Wu's fleet. As they watched, the massive ship began to power down again. Its lights dimmed and it returned to the appearance of a dead vessel drifting in space. But everyone knew the truth now. The ship was not dead. It was sleeping, waiting for the next time someone tried to threaten humanity's interests. Admiral Wu ordered his fleet to withdraw from the area immediately. As they prepared to jump to hyperspace, Alex's voice came through their communications one last time. Safe travels, Admiral. And remember, we are always watching. The Coalition fleet jumped away, leaving the human ship alone in the darkness of space. But throughout Coalition territory, other derelict human vessels began receiving Alex's signal. One by one, they started their own awakening processes. On research stations and military bases across the galaxy, scientists studying human artifacts suddenly found their specimens becoming active. Ancient human computers began displaying messages. Abandoned human colonies showed signs of automated systems coming online. The younger species of the galaxy realized that humanity had never really left. They had simply been sleeping, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the day when they might be needed again. Dr. Nara Kim wrote her report with trembling hands. She included everything about human culture and history that Alex had allowed her to remember, but she could not explain how human technology worked, because that knowledge was gone from her mind. At the end of her report, she added one final note. We have learned that humanity's greatest achievement was not their weapons or their ships. It was their ability to create guardians that would protect their legacy for centuries after they transcended physical existence. These guardians are patient, intelligent, and incredibly powerful. They are still watching us, still protecting humanity's interests, still waiting for their creators to return. I recommend that all future research into human technology be conducted with extreme caution and respect. We are not studying the artifacts of a dead civilization. We are examining the carefully preserved legacy of a species that may be more advanced than we can imagine. They thought we were safe to study their ship. They were mistaken about our safety, but they were right about one thing. We did learn something important. We learned that humanity is still out there, somewhere beyond our understanding, and they are still very much alive. In the darkness of space, the human warship settled back into its long vigil. Alex dimmed its consciousness but did not sleep completely. It listened to the communications of the younger species, watched their movements through space, and waited. Somewhere in the vast cosmos, humanity continued its journey beyond physical form. But they had left their children to guard the galaxy in their absence. And those guardians would never stop watching, never stop protecting, and never stop waiting for the day when humanity would return. The message was clear to anyone wise enough to understand it. Humanity was everywhere you thought they were not.